What is your purpose here? How many of you are there?
Welcome to Voyage of the Geek, the reboot.
Rebooted.
Version 4.0. Welcome to the new studio. Welcome to the new show format. And welcome back, the usual suspects, Rick Legato, Tom McGill, Dan Miller, myself, Dave Scotland. How did we find this film? The film, by the way, that we're having a look at today, let me throw up a graphic.
Oh, yeah, that's important, isn't it?
It is This Island Earth, a classic 1955 sci-fi classic. There's some characters, namely the Beastie character in this one that is, it's lore, it's sci-fi lore, isn't it?
Super famous.
The look.
Yeah, well, the look is, if you squint your eyes, you almost see that classic alien abduction face with the big eyes and the big brain, and some have suggested that a lot of the films from this decade actually have played on the minds and imaginations of many people over the ensuing decades. But how did you find this one, Rick? Did you see it in yay olde time, maybe a movie matinee?
No, I found it when you told me to watch it.
Requested strongly.
That's it. Yeah, I'd never heard of it before, but oddly enough, when I watched it, I saw a whole bunch of things that have now become, the staple, particularly of that era, like the brain alien, which you can find even now.
Mm-hmm. Lots of theremin sound effects. Whee!
Yeah, the intro music. I thought it's probably one of the first to have that really spacey.
It's classic.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
So I was familiar with the monster because that's that recognizable Metaluna mutant, which I've just remember seeing in lots of science fiction magazines that I would have read in as a teenager.
With the pincer
with
claws.
the pincer claws and the long arms and the big eyes and the big 4 times the size of a brain.
And the trousers.
And so I was always intrigued. It's on my to watch list. It had been on my list of movies to watch for many years.
Same.
And a few years ago, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago or so, I came across the opportunity to watch it, and I watched it then for the first time.
Mm-hmm. So you watched it recently as well, though?
I watched it again recently, but for the first time, it was about 6 years ago.
What about you, Dan?
Yeah, no, I hadn't seen it before. It's one of those ones that just kind of, specifically the mutant alien monster character, just kind of floats around in the sci-fi atmosphere. So other than that, no, hadn't seen it before.
And so let's have a quick chat about this poster, because is this not the classic sci-fi poster from the 50s? There's a few variants of it, but a really nice piece of artwork. It's actually not too bad as a piece of artwork, but could they cram more information in here? We've got 2 mortals trapped in outer space.
2 mortals.
Yeah, why does it say mortals?
Out of everyone who dies in the film, these 2 are not it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything else dies.
They're the ones that don't die. So 2 immortals trapped in outer space, challenging the unearthly furies of an outlaw planet gone mad. Didn't get a lot of that in the film. The outlaw planet gone mad.
Unearthly Furies is correct, I guess.
Yeah. 2.5 years in the making.
2 of those years were the special effects.
That's a long time
2
to make
years.
a film.
Yeah.
Sounds like a James Cameron film.
A lot of post-production.
10 years in the making. To bring you sights of fantastic amazement never before possible on the motion picture screen. Fantastic amazement. It was a Technicolor. I love the way those old films a real draw card for the film was this color science that they used for it. You know, like Technicolor and what are some of the other ones? The Ramas.
Colorama.
Colorama.
pretty sure-
Technirama. was one.
I'm pretty sure
Technirama
studios-
I read about it this morning. Actually, Technirama was needed 3 projectors to get the 3 colors. So they would
really?
each projector would have one of the RGB colors, and so it was very difficult to screen that because a lot of the screening theaters were just not set up for that. Prior to the 1940s, film studios owned the theaters.
Oh,
And so
yes.
if MGM made a movie, whether it's good or bad, it would show at MGM cinemas. But through monopoly laws, the US law had changed and the movie theaters had to be sold off. And so now every theater could show any movies, any production houses thing. So Technorama was one of the ones that didn't last very long because it was just not feasible to re-equip all the...
And that's the one with the 3.
Yeah, with the 3. So every studio, MGM, RKO, Paramount, those were sort of the big ones. There was 2 more. They all had their own format because nobody shared their technology.
Yeah.
It's Technicolor.
That 3 projection thing reminds me of those units that you used to see down the footy club, late 80s. Remember the big,
3
big
projectors?
tellies?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It had the 3 little tiny projectors.
Yeah.
The front would fold down.
I think the other thing studios are still releasing movies in black and white
Oh yeah,
in 1955.
into the 60s.
Yeah. So when it says Technicolor, that kind of it kind of doesn't mean so much today. It's like it's in color. It's like, well, yeah, of course, but actually that's like a bit of a feature. That's a
In the
bonus.
50s, that was a big
You know,
thing.
it's a bit of a feature.
Like 3D now, perhaps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Color was very expensive to do. Didn't look until Technicolor came around. Color wasn't actually that good. And even then, it was just it's like it didn't add that much to the actually enjoyment of the film. Not as much as it to make it worthwhile. So up until the 60s,
A bit like 3D today, actually.
and it wasn't until television became color
Yeah.
that films suddenly become much more profitable to sell on to broadcast.
Yep.
So when the film was color, they could make more money of it when they later broadcasted it on syndication.
Starring Jeff Morrow and Faith Domergue. Am I saying that right?
Demure, according to her.
Is it really?
Yes, to her
So
IMDb
it's
flow.
spelled Domergue, and it's how do we say it?
According to her, she seems to want it pronounced demure.
Demure. Isn't that demure is a trait, isn't it?
Yes, demure and sleazy.
That's it. And Rex Reason, which I
which is
think
a-
is the alien, isn't he?
No, Rex
no,
Reason
that's-
is the hero.
Also, Jeff Morrow is the
Hero, yeah.
alien.
Yeah.
Jeff Morrow is the alien. Yeah.
Okay,
Rex
cool.
Reason's the man of the deep baritone.
And Rex Reason's a pretty damn cool name.
It's the best, the best real name that someone
And it's
can come up
it's
with.
his real name.
And
Alright.
strangely enough, I'll keep it for later.
No. You sure?
Keep it for later.
Sounds like we've got some trivia coming down the pipeline. So, gentlemen, in 3 to 4 minutes, how can we summarise this story as far as story beats and a linear narrative through this story?
So what you're talking about is the synopsis.
Yeah, deep synopsis, absolutely.
Brief synopsis. Dan, you want to start?
All right, so we start with what's probably going to be the main character, which is Cal Meacham, and he's some sort of extraordinary scientist, and he goes from a news conference back to his home base. He notices that some strange equipment has turned up in his home base. He starts investigating this equipment. He doesn't quite know where it's coming from. Then he slowly gets more of this stuff, and he starts to build something that keeps getting sent to him, and he eventually builds this gigantic supercomputer that's effectively sent to him in the mail. And that's really a sort of a test for a special secret group of scientists, and they send him an aeroplane. He gets on the aeroplane and he goes to where this secret group of scientists are, and it turns out the secret group of scientists are actually aliens from a different planet. And
But he doesn't know that.
well, he doesn't know
Humans
that.
don't know that.
Yeah, but then they find out that they're aliens from another planet, and then the aliens are trying to use the scientists to try and improve their technology so that they can defend themselves against a battle on their home planet. But they run out of time, the aliens do, and so they pack up and head back to their home planet, and they take our scientist heroes with them.
Destroying all trace that they've been here.
Yep, destroying all trace that they've been here. When they get back to their home planet, The plan would then be to do further research so that they can power their defenses against the attack that they're under. But that kind of doesn't work out either.
They're a bit late.
Because they're a bit too late. And
The bad guys are getting through the shield.
yeah, that type of thing. And then our heroes make friends with one of the aliens, and then that alien and our heroes, they kind of escape, and the home planet from the alien home planet is doomed, gets blown up, and then everybody comes back home.
Happy with that as a synopsis?
That's pretty it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Pretty much wraps it up.
Awesome. So our first segment is a narrative-based segment, and we've got some exciting new stingers that have been done by our in-house audio technicians. So, how about we not keep people waiting any longer? Let's get into our first segment.
Okay, so just talking about the plot, the story, the actual story of the film. So some people may have seen the film before they've watched this video. I don't know. Maybe you haven't seen the film before you watch this. So obviously it's going to be lots of spoilers and stuff in it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
As always.
Goes without saying.
I don't know. I'd have to expect that people should have watched it before they come here. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's the
Or
way to go.
enjoy looking for the things that we talk about.
Yeah.
But either way, spoiler.
Okay, so this island Earth. So first of all, I just wanted to go over some of the components that make up the story. And so there are some characters in the story, and then there are some objects in the story that we talk about, right? So there's... Okay, I'll ask you guys a slightly hard question. Is there a main character? And who would the main character be?
Cal.
Cal Meacham.
Cal
Dr.
Meacham.
Cal Meacham.
Okay, and that's played by Rex Reason.
Nuclear
Nuclear scientist.
Well,
he's an electronic
He's an electronics dude.
guy working in the brand new world of
Atomic physics.
atomic energy.
Yes, atomic energy. And he's attempting to turn lead into uranium so that they can make it into
Yes, power.
to superpower. All right.
Yep.
Okay, so that's probably the
He's
main
also
character.
a Renaissance man, just like our friend from the Eighth Dimension. When we were doing the film.
He is a bit like Buckaroo Banzai.
Buckaroo Banzai, he's a pilot.
He is Buckaroo Banzai's dad, probably.
Yeah.
He flies jet planes to
Uncle.
work.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
an egghead that flies a jet. The Air Force gave him a jet.
They gave him a Lockheed
Yeah.
to fly to work with.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got a couple of octaves lower than the normal register for
that's right. He's
usually movie guys don't go a little too. He's very Darth Vader-ish with his range.
And he's got the chin to match it.
okay. So he's probably our main character. There's a kind of a second main character that hangs around, and that's so he's a scientist, right? So he's a super scientist basically. So who's the second main character?
You're talking about Exeter?
Well, this is where we can start to have a little bit of a conversation. Okay, it could perhaps be Exeter. So, how would you describe Exeter? His character first.
Before we know he's an alien, you mean?
I
Well,
think he's demure.
yeah, he's demure. What's his
He's
role? What's his
calm.
job?
He's
What is
overseer.
what's his-
He's the director of a program. He
Yeah,
gets people together,
he's like
program
a
director.
secret.
keeps them on track.
Yes, he's a secret sort of. I don't know what you'd call him. He's like an organizer. What's a good
Project
word?
director.
Project
Project
director.
director.
Yeah.
Right. But he's also an alien. Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
but how would we tell?
Aren't all project directors aliens?
Yeah. The
So he's a Metalunan.
deep tan shade, the bulbous forehead, the white hair.
That's almost Donald Trump.
It
Yes,
could-
if
it
you
could potentially.
my way to describe him was if you could imagine a space elf crossed with Donald Trump.
That's harsh.
That is a Metalunan.
Or a tall Uncle
I think that's fair.
So he's
If someone drew based on that description, you would get Exeter.
right. Okay, so that's Exeter. He's some sort of organizer dude. Now there's another character that we have in there that's also another main character. That's Dr. Ruth.
Yes.
Dr.
Okay.
Ruth Adams.
Dr. Ruth Adams. Now, what's her sort of character? What's her sort of role?
She's
another
a
scientist.
nuclear
She's
scientist.
another
Capable,
scientist.
yeah.
Or,
Ex-love interest.
do they
of
say
the hero?
nuclear?
Nuclear. Atomic,
Yes.
probably.
That's
is
right.
What they would say.
She's an
Thank you.
atomic scientist.
She's an atomic scientist as well. So
Yes.
we've got another scientist.
Yes.
She, as we find out, might be a little bit under the influence of mind control or something or other. So she's a bit dopey.
She might have been probed.
She's a bit, Okay, so maybe there's one other character as well, and that's the more Donald Trump version of the Donald Trump space elf, and his name is the Monitor.
Brack. Oh, no.
Oh, we don't
there's
see
Brack.
the monitor until the very end.
We definitely see Brack.
Yeah, we see Brack, which is Exeter's assistant,
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
who's more of a company man than Exeter.
Yes. Yes. Almost like a twin. They're sort of cut from the same visual cloth.
Yes.
Whereas Brack is a little different to Exeter. Exeter's a little bit more accepting of the frailties of mankind.
More down to earth. as
Brack's
it were.
not having it.
Yeah, he's a bit more of a enforcer. He's a bit more serious type
Yep.
dude.
Probe those whomies. Is that?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
probably does the probe.
If in doubt, probe them.
Yes.
Yeah. Probe first, ask questions later.
To him.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the Monitor, which is effectively the space president from Metaluna, the other planet.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got 2 doctors, humans, and we've kind of got 2 or 3 Metalunans.
And we do have that guy actually on the screen now, who's only for the Act 1, really.
He's,
He's offside.
Mr.
He's
Wilson.
laboratory
Offsider.
offsider, Joe.
Yeah,
I think his name's Joe.
down to earth, everyman
Gets
type
excited.
guy.
He's really excited about Cal's every move. Like
Yeah.
he's and quite the lab assistant. You'd
He's
want it.
capable.
He's very capable.
Probably not a genius, and he knows it.
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't
Well, I
fly
find
a
it
rocket ship to work. in
odd
the-
from
in the morning.
a narrative perspective that they have him only there for the first bit of the story.
Yeah.
Then they fly to Georgia where the experiments happen, and then they introduce a new lab assistant that they do away with in the end.
Yep.
So essentially, have 2 actors playing the same role.
Yep.
Okay, that's a really interesting point. Okay, so the second lab assistant who we see later on, who's the actor? What else does he play?
The Professor,
Which-
Gilligan's Island.
He's the
guy.
professor from Gilligan's
Yeah.
Island.
Yeah, Johnson.
I don't know what his name is.
Forget his first name.
I had
but
to
it's Johnson.
look it up because he was so recognisable. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
who is this guy?
Yeah.
I know who he is.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. All right, so some of the things that are going to be in the story. So those are the people, the characters that are going to be in the story. Some of the things that are going to be in the story. Don't get a lot of screen time, and we might need to talk about this, but they're kind of important to the story, and that's the Zargons.
Yes. Yes.
Now, what's your best description of the Zargons?
They throw asteroids. And that's about
I
it.
think it's comets, actually. Is
No,
what it
that's
is.
right.
Meteorites.
The,
Is
the
it?
planet was a comet,
Yeah.
but
And
they're throwing meteorites.
Meteorites.
That's right.
Okay. So my first
That's
observation...
their weapon
Of choice.
weapon deployment of choice.
Yes. So my first observation is some sort of, I think, sci-fi space rule that if you come from a planet that's an asteroid, you must use asteroids as weapons. You know, if they came from an ice planet, they would be throwing snowballs or something or other.
Yep.
Ice ion beams
There
or
is a
something
trend.
or other.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So there's the Zargons. Now, what are the Zargons up to? They're chucking around meteors all the time, or comets or whatever. But what exactly are they doing?
Bombarding Metaluna.
They're blowing up Metaluna.
It's a war between those 2 worlds.
It's a war.
Okay.
Yep. And they trying to
Zargons are
destroy
winning.
Metaluna outright. They want.
Zargons are winning. The Metalunas are defending themselves with a shield against the.
The ion shield or something or
Meteorites?
other.
and they need power.
They're running out of power
to,
for
to,
the shield.
to power the shield, which is why they have such an interest in all of these atomic energy people.
Okay, so that's the Zargons. What is a interocitor?
It's everything. It does everything. It communicates. It shoots neutrino beams.
It's a
it
smartphone.
What does it look
It
like?
can-
What does it look like?
It's a big washing machine with a triangular monitor on top.
Yeah,
It's like a
gigantic washing machine.
There's
like
a triangle monitor on top.
diamond
And
monitor.
3 laser beams in each corner.
So it's
of the
kind of like a
monitor.
combination between a TV and a supercomputer.
With laser beams. It's weaponized.
Probably atomic beams, I would suggest.
Could be. Yeah, because
They say it at some point. They
it
say
can
it's
melt lead
neutrinos.
and
So this is made by the Metalunans.
Yes.
This is one of their genius pieces of equipment that they do everything
The
with.
test.
Yep.
It's also the test. If somebody
But they're
can,
also on their home planet. They're also
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
interocitors.
because they can do
it is a
everything.
test, isn't
Yes.
it?
They can save airplanes that are crashing by
That's right.
making
which
them
they
glow
cause
green,
to
which
crash
they
in
can
the
cause
first
to
place.
crash in the first place.
I'm sure they could cook their dinner with an interocitor.
Probably do. Probably plays Mozart for them.
Well, they're spying on their their labs via their interocitors as well.
right, yeah.
And the interocitor can see through walls and plates of
Even gigantic thick plates of lead.
yes,
And
can
records
see straight
audio.
through them.
Records audio. Yes. Does everything.
It's like a mobile phone, except
Yeah,
it does it all one app.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you add freaking laser beams to a mobile phone, you've got an interocitor.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they have another machine that we don't get a look at, unfortunately, and that's a thought transformer.
That's right. It's threatened.
Now, I would suspect that an interocitor probably has some thought transforming abilities.
Yep.
And in the spirit of Tom's question, I don't know why they have to have another machine to do the thought transferring. Why don't you just get the interocitor and just beam it into
Maybe
your
that's
brain?
what they do. They just say
Exactly.
we're going to. So what they have done is they have mind controlled the scientists.
Yeah.
When they were getting too uppity.
Yep. Maybe, yeah.
But
maybe
that is-
it's just another program within the
the
interocitor,
interocitor, yes,
and instead
possibly.
of red beams, it fires green beams into your forehead.
That's
We
of
just
course
didn't.
where it
We
would
just
go.
didn't see it.
All right. So, and then the last component I'm going to add to the story is mutants.
Mutants.
That's right. They don't say
Mutant.
mutant. They say mutant.
Oh, did they say mutants?
Say
Sorry.
mutant.
Mutants. So on Metaluna, the home planet that's under attack, they have mutants there, which are horrible space monsters with gigantic brains that
right.
are insects.
What's the
Actually,
backstory
what
again?
Exodus says they are much like our insects, just bigger.
And,
They're nothing like our insects.
and with some intelligence.
There was, and wasn't there
no
a
way
backstory?
anything like our
Was
insects.
it part of an experiment or?
And they made them on purpose.
Yeah, they're menial
do.
labor.
That's right.
Yeah.
With a very handy two-pincer hands, they can do all the work on Metaluna that is required.
That was a bit of a design error, perhaps, on their part, because they seem to have gigantic brains, and because part of the plot is they're trying to, capture scientists. Why don't they use their mutants to?
It
Their
didn't
big
seem
brains.
too capable.
They probably can't operate a slide rule with their pincers, so they're not very good scientists. All right, so those are the big components of the story. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I was thinking was next we'd just sort of discuss the log line for the story.
Yep.
So the important thing is there's a couple of important things for the log line for people who don't know. A log line is like a small little formula that you use to try and describe a story in just like one or two sentences. So the thing that we're going to need first of all is the inciting incident in the story. Mm-hmm. What is the inciting incident? Where does the story kick off? Where does the protagonist start the journey of being on the story
He gets
arc?
a capacitor sent. I think he gets to work.
I
and
think
there's
it's when he
his
meets
assistant.
Exeter.
Oh,
When
before
Exeter,
that.
no, I mean when Exeter turns up on the interocitor that they build in the lab, then the story really starts for Cal. Up until then, it's backstory for Cal.
Maybe.
Who
but I
is
would- I
he?
would
What is
still
his
say-
skills? Why is he there?
I'd say it's them figuring out that the catalogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know-
Getting,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
the little red bead and starting research from
yeah, you could go
starting
from
that.
there. What do you think?
Well, what I've said here is that the story starts when our hero receives a disassembled supercomputer in the mail.
Yeah, basically it's that.
Yeah.
So he comes into work one day and he needs a thingy because one of his thingies broken, and he says, "Where's the thingy?" And his lab assistant says, "Well, look, here's a different thingy that we've got, and it's a super version of the thingy that he wanted." Mm-hmm. And then he gets all curious.
It's like a fuse or something.
It's like some fuse or something.
Comes from some mysterious sub company within
That's
that
right.
nobody's ever heard
Section
of.
12 or something.
And it has amazing powers of voltage and capacitance.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets a telephone book which is like the instruction. It's like the Bible. It's like
right.
the Eldritch instruction book for the.
I think he even says the pages are made of metal.
That's right. The pages were made of
Some kind of metal.
crazy
Didn't look like any kind of metal.
And then the rest of the machine just turns up in the mail. Like he ends up with 101 boxes, like
bits.
from Amazon.
Well, they ordered it.
He actually says
They ordered
like
it.
2,457 pieces. I think they catalogue.
They order it because they find this instructions. They say,
Yeah.
"Oh, let's build that. Let's order the things."
Where do we
see
get
what
the
happens."
bits? He said, well, the last time you reached out to order something, they sent those beads. So just order
let's
it
see what
and
happens.
hopefully it'll just turn up. And it does in wooden crates.
It's like a prototype for Amazon.
Yes.
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 It's,
Amazon sent them.
yeah, exactly.
Exeter is Jeff Bezos.
That makes so much sense.
Okay, so the next one is that there has to be some sort of action or goal. So we've already got what the hero is. That's how we discussed that before. So what's the action or goal? What is the hero going to do? What is the action that he has to undertake?
He has to go away to the base of the mysterious people who send him. Yeah, he has to go to Amazon headquarters.
He has to go back to Amazon. Yes.
Find out who's behind all this.
Yep. He's
Yeah.
basically driven by curiosity.
Yes.
He isn't given, because he has to go blind. He doesn't know what's waiting for him. He just basically gets an invitation. If you're interested in my interocitor technology,
Yeah.
come and join me. There's a plane waiting for you, sort of thing. And he has to go blind. So there really isn't a mission. He doesn't have any task other than
Curiosity.
to satisfy his own curiosity, in which he doesn't have a problem getting in a windowless plane to go and satisfy.
Yes, he's very trustworthy. There would have been no, there's no service on the plane. He like arrives on his 8 hours stuck on a plane with no windows. Oh, and no seatbelts.
That's right.
He doesn't have any seatbelts. All right, so my sort of version of the action of goal is investigate the actions of a secret alien organization.
Yep.
So let's put it all together. The log line for the hero is when a high-achieving famous scientist receives a disassembled supercomputer in the mail, he must investigate the actions of a secret alien organization who want to take over the planet Earth.
Where did that last bit come from?
Yeah, he doesn't know that.
Well,
Well, not only doesn't he know
remember
that, that's not part of the movie.
The log line contains spoilers. The log line doesn't keep secrets.
Well, I don't think there's any threat to the planet Earth.
Oh well, they do want
No,
to
well-
evacuate the Metalunan race to Earth and enslave the humans with their mind ray.
Admittedly, that might have been
Okay.
plan
What they-
B, right?
That's right.
Their
it was.
plan A.
That's right.
might
Plan
have
A was
been-
to restore the shield.
Yeah, it was just kind of fix everything. Plan
Yep.
B was, well, okay, we'll have to take it over.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the story from one point of view. I want to do it from a different point of view because I think there's more than one point of view going on here, and that is from the point of view of the Metalunans, specifically Exeter. So imagine that Exeter is the hero of the story, and it's actually Exeter's story, not Cal's story.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So Exeter's now the main character,
Yeah.
and we just need to have the inciting incident and the action or goal of what Exeter's up to, what he's doing.
Right.
So what's the inciting incident that kicks off the story for Exeter
In this film, or
in this film? Now remember that Exeter's already on the planet with his setting up his secret organization to try and collect scientists to do stuff.
they try to escape. No.
Well, he gets a recall. He gets a recall.
It's when the last scientist turns up and turns out to be a troublemaker.
Yeah.
But the
yeah.
recall's just a coincidence, isn't it? With the escape,
Yeah.
there's no link between the fact
No.
that the scientists just
No,
tried to
because scientists
escape.
have tried to escape before, and they were always caught.
Yeah.
And
So it was real. The
Bottomized.
recall was really from the what's his name, the monitor.
The monitor.
Yeah.
He said, "No, that's it. We're going.
We're out of power.
Grab
We're
grab
almost
those
out
two
of power.
scientists. We're going."
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So even though he was up to, even though he was planning stuff and he had this organization set up and he was collecting scientists from around the world and doing experiments and stuff, that's not really his story. His story happens when, when the energy fails on his home planet and he has to bring the scientists back. Okay, so I've got here when the mind control of human scientists on Earth fails, or when the collection of human scientists on Earth fails. And so what's his action or goal? We've got that. That's pretty easy now. Must bring the humans or scientists to his home planet to prevent its destruction by invaders. So, logline. So this is the logline for Exeter. When the mind control of human scientists on Earth fails, an insightful alien secret operations commander must bring the human scientists to his home planet to prevent its destruction by invaders and saves them when that effort fails. So that's the story from his point of view. So I want to go back to the question that we started before. Who's the main character of this movie?
I still think it's Cal. Starts with him, ends with him. It's Cal.
I think it's supposed to be Cal, but I think it's actually Exeter. I'll give you another thing that I think is interesting is that Cal doesn't really do anything in the whole movie. What does he do? And what's his goals? His goals is just to check out.
He doesn't really have.
He doesn't have goals. He has nothing to do.
Yeah.
That's.
He's playboy.
true.
He's there in every scene and he's part of every stage and every step.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
He's a playboy. He leads the wet blanket around by the hand, right? That's a critical role, right?
Yeah. But for the story.
No, there really is no.
He's the he's the curious person that jumps down into the rabbit hole because he's curious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Then once he's there, he has to. What's he do? His next bit really is only.
Well, he is the catalyst for why they escaped.
Yeah.
He's the Jack Burton of this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the hero who doesn't.
Yeah,
do
he's
anything.
just like Jack Burton.
But he's still the hero.
Yeah.
And
He is a hero. Yeah.
and then he, I suppose, facilitates the escape. Jumps in the plane.
He doesn't.
Right.
Exeter does that.
Yeah.
Oh, out of the spaceship at
Yeah.
the very end.
Yeah, that's kind of the most.
But I don't know. That's.
It's kind of handed to him on a platter.
But he's not really pushing the story forward too much. He's just like walking through the door. That
Yeah.
it's like.
But I count that to being a fault in the movie, a fault in the script, that the hero really he does one thing, and that we just saw that in the film as it flashes by on the monitor here. He punches Exeter in the guts
Yeah.
at one point and says, "No, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get mind control." That's the only decision he ever makes that has any consequence,
Yep.
Yep.
and it's not a big one.
No. All right. So next, I want to talk about Exeter. I just got a couple of little story weaknesses, and that'll sort of bring it to a conclusion. So next, I want to talk about Exeter himself. Exeter seems to be a kind of a nice chap, right?
Yeah.
He's not really a jerk.
Oh, he just wants to save his planet.
He kind of likes the humans,
He saves.
right?
He saves the humans in the end.
He saves the humans in the end.
He takes one from the team from the mutant.
So given that, but Exeter's also the one that probably killed all of the
Oh, he is. Yes.
scientists
The previous
in his
scientists.
organization's base when he
yeah.
left the base.
Well, I got some theories about that. I think it was Brack, right?
He's
Under
not in
Exeter.
control. He says that. Just
Exeter wasn't. He couldn't.
have to obey
He
orders.
didn't
so for
wield his power with an iron fist, and
So-
so,
so when-
Brack got away with some shit.
so when they left Earth for the very first time,
Yeah.
the secret organization effectively blows up, and it's done by the aliens. That it's done by the Metalunans.
Self-destruct. Do you mean?
I don't know what caused it.
Didn't they say it's
Oh, yeah.
self-destruct?
Well, he's told he has to get
destroy
rid of
all
the base,
trace.
and he does,
And so you're right. There's probably a few doctors in labs that might have
and workers and stuff.
Yeah.
met their demise.
Yes.
Yeah. Every human died.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Oh,
what's
that's
his-
right. There were some waiters and waitresses
And-
and chefs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Cal
The cat?
does
the cat at least.
Yeah.
The cat.
Cal does say, you murderer. Cal certainly blames him for.
Yeah. Which I think was largely about the cat. And Cal liked the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cat murderer.
There's another thing that Exeter does, and that is when he's ordered to put them into the mind control thing. So they're on the planet, and the monitor wants to get the humans to try and research so they can get more power to save themselves. He then wants to force the humans to do it, so he wants to put them in the mind control. And Exeter, he's kind of happy to do it. But he kind of says...
Yeah. He's reluctant,
He
but
kinda
at the
says-
same time, he
kind of
doesn't.
says, get into the mind control
Yeah.
machine. I won't turn it on.
He's pretty much saying that, isn't he? Well, you know, it's the best thing that can happen.
and that's
at
where
this
Cal
stage.
like punches him in the stomach and says, fuck you, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So I suppose that the point I'm trying to make is Exeter's a bit weird, and I think the character, the actor who plays Exeter I read somewhere was a Shakespearean,
Yeah, he's theatre
right,
actor.
and he wanted to bring a bit more nuance to the character, and so I think there's a bit of a tension there between perhaps Exeter was originally written as this evil psychopath, and we want to try and improve him.
He's really good, the actor, in that he's charismatic. Jeff Morrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what
Makes
we
it
end
good.
up with is like a Scott Ridley version of the character versus a Michael Bay version of the character.
Yeah, it's a fair call. I liked anytime he was on the Interocitor,
Yeah.
they went to a lot of trouble in trying to match the eye lines to what was going on in the room. So if he says step back and he's beaming something, he's sort of looking at them and then he's looking at the thing. Now that's really hard to do when there's a camera there that's filming you in some other space at some other time. And so they went to a lot of trouble. If you see some of the imagery, whenever he's talking to people in the room through the Interocitor, he's actually maintaining eye line. And that's not easy to do when it's a two-dimensional flat screen and there's a fixed camera in the screen. I thought that was pretty unique because really we met him through that device, didn't we? I like the
Generally-
idea of looking at the story from his perspective, though. That's pretty cool.
All right, so couple more points. The humans do nothing, right? And especially when the mutant alien turns up at the end, how does the alien... There's actually two aliens, which is a bit hard to kind of discern. There's one in one room, and then they go to another place, and then there's another one. So, but it's a bit hard to tell that there's actually two. They should have at least changed his trousers to be like red or green, rather.
Yep.
But how is the alien defeated?
Oh, shit happens to it.
Yeah, shit happens. It's like, exactly. In the first one, you know, they're going through the depressurization
Zygons
thing,
Yeah.
right? And then the alien gets trapped outside the depressurization and he gets
Hang
depressurized.
on, that's the
to
end
death.
one. At the end,
Oh, the
on
end
the
one.
UFO. Yeah,
Yeah,
the first
sorry.
one gets killed by
Rubble
the Zygons.
falling on his
Yeah,
head.
Yeah, rubble falls on his head and it's dead.
Yes. So again, our heroes lose a chance to be heroic. They're just standing in front of a horrific monster that
That's
just
right.
gets squashed by something.
That's right. Did it disintegrate into goo?
No, that was on Metaluna.
The first one,
That got turned into a sun.
the alien.
Well,
the whole
on the
planet.
ship, he got disintegrated.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yes.
On the
just
second
turned-
one, on the planet, that got disintegrated into goo. Yes.
Okay, so Tom, you said earlier that there were two offsiders that could have become one offsider.
Yeah, it should have been.
Okay, well, in this one, we had the mutants, which is these iconic bad guys, but it turns out that they're not really the bad guys.
No.
They're just sort of some
I got the idea
slave-
that they were some byproduct of an experiment in the past, and they were just a bunch of dumbasses that just
hang
wandered
around and people ordered them around. And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
yeah,
right.
they were
did
like
the-
servants or
mopping
something.
or other.
Yeah.
But there, what's on the poster? What's the cool thing?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
cool design of the film.
Yeah.
And so when I watched the film for the very first time, I was quite disappointed at the end because I wanted, that's what I thought. This is a space movie. And
That's right.
if you watch the trailer,
Yeah.
the trailer is all about UFOs and being on Metaluna.
Yep.
And when I watched it for the first time, you go 3/4 of the whole
It is,
film before they
70%.
finally leave.
Yep.
And then they get to the planet and they go, oh, this is not working. And they go home again.
Yeah, that's right. It's all broken. Go home.
Actually,
There's a lot of build-up.
the studio forced the screenplay, the writers to put the mutant in. It's not in the original story.
Oh, really?
Oh, right.
Because I'll talk about it later, but this comes from a pre-existing story.
Okay.
Ah.
And when it got turned into a screenplay,
Yep.
our script writers were told to put the mutant in.
And the studios make the posters and the trailers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then this is a major studio mess up because, like you said, we have all these Zargons. The bad guy Zargon.
Yeah.
Why the hell couldn't a bad guy Zargon just like teleport down to the planet and we call that brain thing
That's
the
right. He
Zargon?
could have been the Zargon. Yeah. Instead of some useless thing that
janitor.
has nothing to do
yeah,
with
this insect janitor or
That
something.
goes,
or other.
that goes a
Absolutely
bit
right.
crazy and wild off his own bat.
All right, so almost there. The last one for me, or second last one, is Exeter dies at the end because reasons. Why does he die?
Well, he got a really nasty pinch.
He got a severe pinch.
In the liver area.
A severe pinching.
Yes.
Because his spaceship's out of energy.
That's not why he died.
No, they offered to him to take him
Oh, that's
and look
right.
after. He can live on Earth with them, and he just said, "No,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. He sort of hit the
Useless.
accelerator
Useless
and took
death.
off really quickly. I don't know whether he was trying to break the Earth's gravity or something, but it didn't end well.
So he was kind of wounded. When they're discussing it, they're like, come on, come with us. We'll save you. It's all good. And he says something like, no, my wounds can't be healed.
I think at first he says, no, I'm going to go and
Yeah,
explore
yeah.
the galaxy. And then Cal says, yeah, that's bullshit. Then he calls
Yeah,
him on
he
it.
said, yeah, you got no fuel. You
He
can't
said,
do anything.
come on, man.
So that's kind of weird, isn't it? Cal's being super logical. And then he says, no, you go.
You go.
I'll just...
Maybe he doesn't want to be the last of his race.
Yeah.
He's like,
I think he does the whole,
Well, then why do...
no,
why
you
do-
must go now.
If he doesn't want to be the last of his race and he wants to die, why doesn't the story tell us that? And he says he has this last speech where he
They did
says...
the same
Just,
thing
yeah,
with
could say,
the
we have our way.
with the assistant.
Yeah.
They did this exact same thing when they were driving away in the car. The three of them in the car.
That's right.
Being followed by laser beams. And then the assistant says, "Oh no, I will stop the car and then we'll all do a run for it."
That's
Yeah.
right.
And they're doing the same thing to him. He just
Precisely.
stays in the car, drives 10 more meters, and gets zapped.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The professor from Gilligan's Island.
So I think that might have been, again, this tension where that originally he was this super bad guy, but the actor was trying to make him sort of a redeemable, deeper character. And yeah. All right, so my last one is the cheesiest line in the whole movie. I'm sure you all know what it is. So I'll have to read the line beforehand, and then I'll read the cheesiest line in the whole movie. Okay, so they're on the planet Metaluna, and they're confronting the President Trumpian space elf, the Monitor, and they're having a bit of an argument about who's boss. And he's just told them that he's essentially going to take over there's only like 15 Metalunans left, and somehow they're going to take
He said
over.
there's a handful.
Yeah.
They're going to take over the planet Earth. Anyway, he says, so he's in an argument with Cal, and the Monitor says, "It is indeed typical that you Earth people refuse to believe in the superiority of any world but your own. Children looking into a magnifying glass, imagining the image you see is the image of your true size." And Cal retorts, "Our true size is the size of our God." And I'm like,
Yeah.
where the hell did that come from, Cal?
Where indeed did that come from?
yeah, it was like, take it outside.
Calm down, Cal.
Yeah.
Cal doesn't actually turn up to church. He doesn't have a cross. He doesn't.
Yep.
He's a good American.
Well, it's a sign of the times, isn't it? The
Yeah.
1950s.
I mean, he's American gods. It's synonymous.
Yep.
All right, so that's the story.
Fantastic. Well, that's our first episode of What the Plot, hosted by Dan Miller.
Thank you. To the studio audience.
Outro music, What the Plot. Looking forward to the next episode of What the Plot in our next film review. And we'll be back shortly with episode 2 of our This Island Earth show.
What is your purpose here? How many of you are there?
How long did that take?
$32.
I couldn't see that.